I super love that. Do you feel like it was hard to juggle a healthy lifestyle while doing, like, obviously now you kind of have more control over your shifts and stuff like that, but especially when you were working overnight or just didn't have as much control, was it difficult for you to kind of juggle like healthy eating, exercise routine, all of that stuff with your shift work?
Absolutely. Yes. It kind of, for me, it started in nursing school. And I think there's this really unfortunate, kind of like, I don't know what the word is, but there's this like underlying idea in the nursing world and in particularly in nursing school, that you can't take care of yourself while you're in school. Nursing schools, I think it's known to be like the hardest bachelor's degree that you can get. And I actually had at my nursing school orientation, a woman came, she owned the local scrub store in town, and she came to like give her spiel about her scrubs and give us a discount. And she ended it with, but make sure you size up because everyone gains weight in nursing school.
Ooh.
Well, I mean, it's super stressful. Right? I mean, you work in shift. Were you having to do shift work in nursing school, like while you were doing clinicals?
Yeah, when we do clinicals, yeah. So, I mean, it is super stressful, but I just, this like underlying idea that you can't take care of yourself. So I really bought into that my first year of nursing school. I studied way too much. I didn't do anything fun. I never went out to dinner or saw my friends or planned any trips. I was just basically in school or studying. And so I really struggled a lot with that first year. And then between my first and second year, I found this community. It's called Nurses Inspire Nurses. And it's led by this woman, Kat Golden, who she's still a nurse, but she used to work in a PICU, I believe, a pediatric ICU. And she basically started this community to encourage like nurses to take care of each other and take care of one another. And I'm super grateful I found that community because I learned through that, like, oh, I can take care of myself. So I really just leaned into that. I started to prioritize like doing like workouts in the morning before class and bringing snacks to school, like bringing veggies and things like that to school instead of just like relying on the vending machine. And so that kind of started to change for me in nursing school. And then it definitely carried over through nursing. I feel like I had a decent handle on it by the time I started working. Night shift was particularly hard though. I think absolutely, like, you're working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. and it's like, well, when do I eat dinner? Because normally I eat dinner at 7.
When do I track my macros? That's actually like the most common question. Like, do I track it during my shift?
Yeah. What worked for me on that was most nurses will work 3 in a row. So I would, on my day 1, I would try and sleep in a little bit. And then I would get up and like go work out, kind of do my normal thing. And then I try and take a nap in the afternoon before my shift. And basically on that day, I allowed myself like extra calories in my macros because I was essentially up for like almost 24 hours minus a nap. So obviously your body needs more, you're awake more. And then, so that would be like 7 a.m., let's say on a Monday to 7 a.m. on a Tuesday. And then I would start my next day and my macros, like once I got off my shift. So I would go home, like I would essentially like eat dinner at work at like 4 p.m. And then I would go home and go to bed. I'd usually have a snack right before, but I would count like as soon as I got home, I would count as like the next day. That makes sense.
Interesting.
I feel like I need like a graph to show I like.
Well, like I said, hook us up here.
So that's what worked for me. I know some nurses will like, they'll just do like midnight to midnight. And if they eat at work, like after midnight, so, in the last 7 hours of shift, like they'll count that as a new day. But for me, like that made it a little bit weird mentally because I was like, but wait, like this is still my day. Like I'm eating lunch right now. This shouldn't be the end of my day. So yeah, I would essentially count like my first day would be a really, really long day. And then after that, it would basically just kind of be a normal day.
Did you experience any like health issues pop up like while you were in nursing school or even, while you were practicing?
Other than like gaining 40 pounds, no. No, I was luckily, I think I did a pretty good job, at least, of like taking care of myself, and still like, I was not shy about like prioritizing sleep at all. And I think one of the biggest struggles I see with nurses is they'll cut their sleep because they think that their workout schedule or their life schedule has to look like everyone else's. And I just don't think that that's realistic. Like, if you work, a 12-hour shift is really 12 and a half hours when you add the extra half an hour for giving report before you leave. And if you commute a half an hour on either side, it's like there's not really a lot of extra room if you also want to sleep for 8 or 9 hours a night. And like being on your feet for 12 hours is really stressful. It's really hard on your body. So I always just took my shift days as rest days. I'd work out like before shift 1, if it was a night shift, I'd work out that day, but then I would make the other 2 days just be my rest days, and kind of work around that, which I think more nurses would be better off if they did that instead of like, oh, I'm going to wake up at like 4 a.m. and get my workout in before I go into this 12-hour shift, or I'm on my feet all day and like being yelled at. So.
I love that you share that though, because I was just asking our friend Carissa, she just moved down to kind of San Diego area for a shift contract as well. And so same thing. It was like, I was asking her, I was like, so how are you maneuvering? Like when do you track your macros? What do you do? And she actually does the same thing with, if she is working shift, she's not, that's just a rest day for her. And then she's just prioritizing, 3 to 4 days of strength training, which I think is super awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it's totally doable because you still have 4 days off. So you can still, lift or run or do whatever. It's just not going to look like everyone else's. And I think that that's the biggest struggle I see nurses have is, you get this templated program and it's designed for, people who work like a normal 8 to 5 or whatever. And it's like, well, you don't work an 8 to 5. Like you have to change it. You have to shift days around, and it's absolutely doable, but there just has to be like one iota of creativity in there.